Hi and welcome to lesson 6 on how to produce an electro-funk record. Now then, in this lesson what we're going to do is we're going to insert some riffs, playing a couple of chords. So we're going to use the brass riff sound that we're going to select in a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to have two chords. One is the chord that the bass line is in, which is the G minor 7 chord, and the next chord we're going to use is an A minor 7. Now I'm going to play them in. I'm going to stab them in as little riffs, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up the piano roll, and then you'll be able to see exactly what I've done, so you can replicate that or play it. Now, first things first, what we need to do is go to your plugins and find the OBX64 and drag that in across like so. And then what you need to do is go into your open file here next to the default setting and choose brass, and in there you're going to have a sound called res brass, and that is there. So it's probably like all the way down to around there. Look. And you're going to select that. And it's going to sound like this. So it's a pretty cool sound. It fits perfectly with this style of music from that era. So what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to add a tiny bit of EQ. And as you can see, I've already pre-recorded these in. But what I'm doing at the moment is I'm redoing them so that you can see. And then when everything is in, I'm going to delete all of this section here, and then we're going to just start afresh. So what you see on here, like there's a crash channel there when I've got one in here, which we did in the last lesson. I'm going to be deleting that. I'm just using that as my guide at the moment. So the brass riffs. So what we've got is I've got a little EQ here, and all I've done is, as you can see, it's just taken off a little bit of the bottom there, and it's raised in the middle here like so. So if you want to do that, you want to get number 3 up to 120 hertz, number 4 3.74 thereabouts, number 2 194, and number 1 34 and thereabouts. Okay, so it just brings out the brightness slightly, like so. So what I'm going to do is I'll record the chords in on top of the bass line that we did in the last lesson, and we'll go from there. I'm going to do it nice and steady so you can see each step by step how I do it. Okay, here we go. Like so. Okay, so let's look at that and then double click and open it up, and let's get it quite big as we can. There we go. It looks quite a lot, but it isn't. What we've got here is what's called an inversion chord. Now I've quantized it, so make sure that you, once you've recorded your riff in, you go over it and make sure there are no bum notes in there, which is one there, look. But you make sure you quantize it to 1/16. Okay, now an inversion chord is when you play the chord in a different way. So the G minor 7 chord is a G, B flat, D and F. But what I've done is I've started with the F, so it's gone backwards. I've taken off the F up here and put it down here, so it's closer together. It just gives it a little bit more depth. So. As you can hear it. If I played it with the higher F, it would be more trebly. It's not a great deal of difference, but for the purposes of this, I just find that it's better to use the lower F in one of the inversion chords. So it's the same chord, but just flipped around. And then the next chord is the A minor 7, which is G, A, C, and E. Like so. So the notes, as you can see, are F, G, B flat, and D, or A sharp as it says on the screen there. And all you're doing is you're just stabbing those notes in like so. Some notes, look, they might be a little bit short, so just make sure that you drag them out so that they've got plenty of value in there in the notes. And then we're going to press play and so there you go. So let's just look at that again. Simple stabs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and then up to the A minor 7 chord. So you play that 3 times. Like one's extended, the other two are short stabs. So as you can see on the second one, I've stabbed it quicker here, so it plays like this. So if you listen to the whole thing, there you go. So take a look at the notes on there. As you can see, if you need to draw them in, then by all means do so. Also, what I tend to do on the next set of chords I'm going to record in, they're exactly the same chords, but I'm going to change them slightly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my modulation wheel on my keyboard. Now, if you haven't got one, then that's okay. You can actually draw it in down here in the editing suite when you use the modulator there. That's number 1. You can draw that in by using that and then lifting up this here. So, for example. You can hear it wobbling, you can hear it bending, but I'm not going to use that because I'm going to use my actual wheel on my keyboard. So on the second set of chords, I'm going to play exactly the same thing, but I'm just going to modulate it so it goes like this. So it bends, but only on the A-7 chord. Okay, so I'm going to play the first bit, and then on the next one, I'm going to play with the modulation, but I'm going to do a little riff that goes like this at the very end. So here goes. Like so. So let's just make sure that that is not recorded over, and then we get this second one. Let's just change the colour of that to different like that. Double click, and then why it's picked all that up, we don't need to see that. Let's get rid of that, take the E off. Okay, so there you go. You see the pattern is exactly the same, except I've modulated the wheel and changed it at the very end. So we're going to have the same riff, a little dodgy note in there again, so make sure you delete those. So let's just make sure that riff is correct at the end where it goes. So then there's a slight little bit of a where it goes. Should have an F in there instead of the B flat. The B flat should be the F, so it goes. There you go, and there it is. And it just has a little bit of a different take on it. So if you play them with the kick, just keep it simple. Okay, so that's the end of the lesson. I hope that you've got all that and that you can move on to the next stage where we're going to do the lead line. So, just a quick recap. You have the OBX D64, you choose the res bass, you choose the res brass, put a slight EQ on it just to brighten it up a bit to your, whatever your preference is. I mean, you could have a little bit more top end if you want, by raising number 3 and 4, it's up to you. But the riff itself is just the chords, which are F, G, B flat and D. So they play along until we get to the section where we have a G, A, C and E chord. And then it repeats. I've put a modulation on it. And then at the very end of the very last notes, we play a slightly different chord where we play the notes down where it goes to. So you're playing the notes. All you're doing is you're just playing those notes there. So it's like the D, the C sharp, or the D flat as we're going down, the C, and the B flat and the G. There you go. So, and then that plays out to the different chord. And there we go. So that's the end of the lesson. Any problems, just email me and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching and head over to the next lesson. Goodbye.